Ever watched a film or TV show with a bit of destruction and wondered, are those people okay? Were people in that building? Not everyone was a baddie, right? You very rarely see the aftermath, but it's probably for the best. In the game of Fuse, you're defusing bombs on your ship that was placed by intruders, and even if you defuse them all, there were still some injuries. For a bit of much needed continuity and closure, there is another game that deals with the fallout of this explosive story. I'm Rob from JTRpodcast.com, and I'm going to show you how to play Flatline, a Fuse Aftershock game. This is a game for 1 to 5 players, plays in about 45 minutes, is designed by Kane Klenko and is published by Renegade Game Studios. Your medics, healing the wounded that were injured during the events that took place in Fuse, heal all the patients to win. Shuffle the board by attaching the 4 corner board pieces around the life support dial. Shuffle the emergency cards and put them face down near the one on the track along with the emergency dice. Shuffle the patient tiles and put the number of them aside depending on the player count. Return the rest to the box. Put 4 of the tiles on their spaces, face up in the middle of the board. Turn the life support dial so the connection with the diamond is lined up with the first space on any patient card. Put a power cube on each of the 2 recharging stations. Take the correct power meter for the player count and put it in its space. They're double-sided with the green side the easier side to play. Add the 8 remaining power cubes to their space on the power meter. Each player takes 6 dice of their colour, 7 each in a 2-player game, and in a solo game the player gets 2 sets of 7 dice. Choose a chief medical officer, preferably the most experienced player, and give them the player aid tile. They will help the game continue from phase to phase and will also keep these blank cleared tiles nearby. Choose any player to be the intern, they are in charge of redistributing the dice. Put these lockdown tiles near the board, now the game begins. The game is played over 7 phases, either follow along with a player aid tile or use the free Renegade Games app. Phase 1 is to lose power, remove the left power cube from the power track. Phase 2 is add emergencies, reveal cards equal to the number under the removed power cube one at a time. Emergency cards with an orange tab go in the stat area. Those with a blue tab are added to the emergency track starting with the lowest available number. Start a second row if all 6 slots are filled. If both rows are full, future cards are discarded instead of adding them to a row. Phase 3 is roll emergency dice. Add the rolled dice to the emergency row. Cards in these slots are now activated, lowest to highest. If 2 cards are in a slot, start with the first row closest to the board. An example of these cards is the unexpected hindrance, which makes you draw an additional emergency card to put in its space. Phase 4 is planning. Players can spend a bit of time to discuss strategy before the next phase. Phase 5 is countdown, which is a 1-minute timed phase. Start the timer, the one on the app works well. Players roll their dice and start to place them on the various spots on the board. There are several places a die can be placed, and once placed, a die cannot be picked back up. Firstly, you can try and save patience. Place a die on a matching symbol on the various rows depending on the player symbol shown on the left of that row. This means exactly 1 player must place all the dice required in this row. This is exactly 2 players must place the dice. This is for more than 1 player. This is all players must place 1 dice each. Secondly, you can try and clear emergency cards. Place dice in the same way as patience, except any combination of players can add the dice. To try to activate a recharge station, place 1 of each side of the dice required. Again, any number of players can do this. To gain a reroll during this phase, players place a die here and reroll the remaining unplaced dice. There is a maximum number of rerolls that can be gained per round depending on the player count. The dice placement will end when the 1-minute timer expires or all dice have been placed. Phase 6 is to resolve cards. A card is cleared if all symbols are covered by the correct dice. Any stat card that has not been cleared is flipped face down and added to the red side of the board. If it was cleared, side it under the board on the green side, covering the dice symbols. While in the green area, they become triage cards with a 1-shot ability that is discarded after use. For example, this under control card allows you to discard an emergency card from the emergency row. In the emergency area, discard any cleared cards. Move a card from the second row to the first if a gap opens up. Phase 7 is to resolve patient and recharging stations. Start with a patient that has the diamond from the life support dial, then go clockwise. Return dice that were placed incorrectly or on lines that were not fully treated. If a line is fully treated correctly, return the dice and add a bar to show it is completed. If the last line is cleared on a patient, trigger the space at the bottom of the patient card. If it's black, do nothing. If it's green, it will be a positive ability like this one that lets you add a cleared tile to any empty line on a patient tile. If it's red, it will be a negative ability. For example, this symbol makes you put a lockdown token on the reroll track, making this action unusable in the next round. Then remove the patient from the board and replace it with the next one in the stack. If the recharge station condition is met, add the cube back onto the track on its rightmost available space on the power meter. Phase 8 is to turn the life support dial. Turn the dial clockwise so that the diamond moves onto the first space of the next patient. The intern will give dice back to the players and remove any lockdown markers from the board that were placed on the previous round, not in phase 7 of this round. Go back to phase 1, removing the next power cube from the track. If you have 3 face down red cards, 4 if you're playing a 1 or 2 player game, you lose. If you remove the last power cube from the track, you lose. If the players treat all the patients in the stack of patient tiles and on the board, the players will win. That's Flatline, a real-time dice placement game. Please like this video if you found it useful, share it to let others know about it, and subscribe to the channel for more how to play videos as well as other board game related content. You can find me on Twitter at JTR Podcast, support the show at patreon.com/JTR Podcast, and you can find my blog and podcast at jtrpodcast.com. I've been Rob aka Jesta ThaRogue, and until next time, keep on healing.